ever think about, like, what if you found out someone you love, someone in your family, like, was capable of murder?
Yeah.
And not just any murder,
Right.
but like a really calculated act,
Yeah.
all because they wanted an inheritance.
Oh.
That's what we're going to be looking at today as we kind of dive into this whole Hargan family killings.
The Hargan family killings.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think what's so interesting about this case is that, like, we see this family and they look totally normal from the outside.
Right.
But like inside,
Yeah.
there's all these secrets and this greed.
Right.
And ultimately violence.
Yeah, it's I think it really like challenges what we think we know about people.
Totally.
When we think we know them well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, the stuff that we're looking at today, it's like court transcripts, forensic reports.
Oh, wow.
Interviews with Detective Brian Byerson, who was the lead investigator on this case. We're putting together all these little pieces of information to try to figure out what actually happened.
Like a puzzle.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think as we go through this stuff, we have to remember that evidence can be really tricky.
Yeah.
Like sometimes the smallest details can be super important.
Absolutely.
For deciding if someone's guilty or innocent.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the beginning, to the crime scene.
All right.
We're in McLean, Virginia.
Okay.
It's like a quiet suburb outside of D.C. Detective Byerson walks into the Hargan family home.
Yeah.
And he just knows that something is wrong.
Oh, wow.
He describes it as like this macabre jigsaw puzzle.
Oh, wow.
And there are all these like disturbing things there that kind of raise red flags right away.
Right away.
Yeah.
So like right when he walks in the door, he's like, oh, this is not good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for example, there's no sign that anyone broke in.
Oh.
The bodies are in really weird positions. And like even small things like where they found the weapon.
Yeah.
All of that makes Detective Byerson think
that
this was not just some random act of violence.
Oh, wow.
And as the investigation goes on, they start to really focus on Megan Hargan, who is the oldest daughter. The prosecution says that her motive was simple money.
Money?
Yeah.
Okay.
They say she tried to take money from her mom Pamela's account.
Okay.
Just before the murders happened.
Oh, wow.
But it didn't work.
So that failed.
It failed. And they say that's why she decided to do something more drastic so she could get all the money.
Oh, wow. That's
it's a pretty scary thought, right?
It is.
That someone would kill for money.
Yeah.
The prosecution even says that Megan needed her mom's phone to get past some security stuff, and that maybe that's why Pamela was killed.
Oh, so she could get access to the phone.
To get access to the phone.
And then get access to the money.
Exactly.
Wow.
And then that brings us to Helen.
Okay.
Who's Megan's younger sister.
Right.
The prosecution thinks that Helen was killed.
Yeah.
So she couldn't tell anyone.
Oh, wow.
About their mom's murder.
So she wouldn't be a witness?
Exactly.
Wow.
It just makes the whole case even more complicated and messed up.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe, right?
It is.
That a daughter could plan to kill her own mom and sister.
Yeah.
And it gets even crazier.
Oh, no.
The prosecution says that Megan actually admitted to Helen.
Oh, my gosh.
That she killed their mom.
Wow.
Before she supposedly killed Helen.
Oh, my goodness.
So if that's true, it adds this whole other layer to the case that's like really psychological and disturbing.
Absolutely.
They also say that Megan tried to make it look like Helen had killed their mom and then herself.
Oh, wow.
So we've got a possible double homicide.
Yeah.
A motive, which is money.
Right.
And someone trying to cover it all up.
Wow.
This is basically the story that the prosecution told.
Okay.
And they used witnesses like Megan's other sister, Ashley, and Helen's boyfriend, Carlos Gutierrez.
Okay.
To back it all up.
And so Ashley's testimony.
Yeah, what about Ashley?
Well, it's kind of interesting because at first she actually defended her sister.
Oh, wow.
But then they played these recordings of Megan pretending to be their mom so she could get into these financial accounts.
Okay.
And after that, Ashley totally changed her story.
Oh, well, wow.
Ended up testifying against Megan.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must have been so hard for Ashley.
I know.
I mean, she was pregnant during the trial.
Right.
And then she had to face the fact
that
her own sister might have done these horrible things.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
It really shows you how much damage these crimes can do.
Yeah.
It's not just the victims who are affected.
Right.
It's everyone around them, too.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then there's Carlos's testimony.
Right.
He talks about how Helen was getting more and more scared of her sister.
Oh, wow.
And he says that Helen told him about Megan admitting to the murder.
Oh, my gosh.
It's just heartbreaking to think about Helen being so afraid like that.
Yeah.
And when you think the case is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
There's this crazy twist.
A twist?
Yeah. This forensic specialist,
sure,
Iris Delagraph, she testifies, and she says that based on, like, digital reconstructions and Helen's body type, it might have been technically possible for Helen to shoot herself.
Hold on.
Using her toe.
What?
While she was sitting on the toilet.
How is that even possible?
Right.
Yeah.
It sounds unbelievable.
It does.
Did the prosecution say anything about that?
Well, Delagraph said that, yeah, it's technically possible,
okay,
but it's really, really unlikely.
Okay.
She still thought that murder was the most likely explanation.
So the toe on the trigger theory, as it was called, was out there.
Right.
But surely the prosecution had a strong enough case to overcome that.
Hopefully, why? They probably had a good case, you know?
Right.
But that toe on the trigger, it made people doubt.
Yeah.
And they couldn't just ignore it.
Right.
So they really tried to emphasize how unlikely it was that something like that could happen.
Right.
They pointed out all these problems with what the defense was saying, and they kept reminding the jury about the money and how that could have been a motive.
Right.
They wanted to get the jury thinking logically again instead of focusing on this crazy scenario.
So did the defense just, like, run with the toe on the trigger thing?
Pretty much, yeah.
That seems risky.
It was.
Yeah.
But they saw it as their only chance.
Okay.
They were trying to say that maybe Helen's death was an accident or even suicide, and that Megan didn't have anything to do with it.
Right.
They also tried to make Ashley look bad.
Oh, how did they do that?
They said she was lying.
Oh, wow.
That she wanted money.
So they were basically trying to take apart the prosecution's whole case and tell a totally different story, even if it sounded kind of unbelievable.
Yeah.
And did it work?
Well, the jury actually found Megan guilty.
Oh, wow.
On all 4 charges.
All 4?
Yeah, including 2 counts of first-degree murder.
So that means they believed the prosecution more, even with that toe on the trigger thing.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the prosecution won.
Yeah, you could say that.
It seemed like justice was served finally.
It did seem that way.
Was there like a feeling of relief in the courtroom when they read the verdict?
You could feel it.
Yeah.
The prosecutor and Detective Byerson, they both seemed relieved and happy that they had finally gotten justice for Pamela and Helen.
It must have been a huge weight off their shoulders.
Well, I'm sure it was.
Years of work all led up to this.
Absolutely.
And then the jury recommended 2 life sentences.
Wow.
Which shows you how serious they thought the crimes were.
Yeah, no kidding.
But you said earlier that there was this one juror who almost messed everything up.
Oh, yeah.
What happened there?
Well, this juror was really bothered by that toe on the trigger theory.
Right.
They thought it created enough doubt that maybe they shouldn't vote guilty.
Oh, wow.
And in Virginia, you need all the jurors to agree for a first-degree murder conviction.
So just one juror could have changed everything.
Yeah.
Even after they already said guilty.
Yeah, it was a close call.
What did the judge do?
Well, the judge decided to ask each juror individually in front of everyone to confirm their vote.
Can you imagine being in that courtroom?
Oh, it must have been intense.
Everyone just staring at each juror?
I know.
The whole trial basically came down to this.
Yeah.
So what happened when they asked that juror?
Well, get this.
Yeah.
The juror actually changed their mind.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
And said they voted guilty after all.
So in the end, all the jurors agreed.
They did.
And the judge gave Megan 2 life sentences.
That's right.
Like the jury recommended.
Yep.
That is a crazy turn of events.
It is.
I wonder if a juror really changed their mind.
I know, it makes you wonder.
Or if they just felt pressured
to
go along with everyone else.
Yeah, it's hard to know.
It just shows you that even though the legal system tries to be fair, it's still people making these huge decisions.
And those decisions, they affect so many people.
This whole thing with the juror just adds another layer to this already complicated case.
It does.
It shows you that even though there are rules and procedures, it's still human beings who are at the heart of it all.
That's a good point.
And those jurors, they have to deal with all this information and all these emotional testimonies.
Absolutely.
And in the end, They're the ones deciding someone's fate.
Yeah, that's a huge responsibility.
This juror's story, starting with doubt and ending with a guilty vote, it just makes you think about how complicated the justice system really is.
It really does.
It definitely leaves us with a lot to think about.
It does.
Yeah.
So as we move on to the last part of our deep dive, we're going to talk about what this case means. What happened after the sentencing and all the questions it raises.
Yeah. About families' money.
Yeah.
And how even seemingly perfect families can have these dark secrets.
It's true.
We've been through so much with this case.
Yeah, we have.
All the evidence, the motives, the legal arguments. It's been like a maze.
It has.
From that really creepy crime scene to the toe on the trigger thing.
Right.
This case has really made us think about families.
It has.
About justice.
Yeah.
And about how far people will go for money.
Yeah, it's like greed can just take over.
It really can.
And it shows you how a normal family can have these terrible secrets.
Exactly.
And how wanting money can make people do awful things.
It's scary.
It is.
So in the end, the judge gave Megan 2 life sentences.
2 life sentences. Wow.
Just like the jury recommended. Did that feel like the end of it?
Well, it settled things legally, but it's not like everyone just moved on.
Right.
Especially for the family.
Ashley, for example.
Yeah.
She had to testify against her own sister?
I know.
That must have been so painful.
I can't even imagine.
How about Detective Byerson?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he spent years on this case.
Yeah.
Was he relieved when it was finally over?
He seemed really relieved, and like he felt good that they had finally gotten justice for Pamela and Helen.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that the police have a tough job.
It is.
They have to put all the pieces together and try to find out the truth so that the people who did bad things are held accountable.
Exactly.
This case really makes you think about human nature. It shows you that people can be greedy, that you can't always trust people, and that ambition can lead to really bad things.
It's a reminder that this kind of stuff doesn't just happen in movies or on TV.
Oh, right.
It happens to real families.
Yeah.
And it affects everyone involved.
Absolutely.
Are there any resources out there for families who go through something like this?
There are.
Like what?
There's this organization called the National Center for Victims of Crime, and they offer support to victims of violence and their families.
So they provide counseling and things like that?
Yeah, they do counseling, and they help people understand their legal rights.
Right.
Basically, they help people deal with everything that comes after a tragedy like this.
It's important to know that there's help out there.
Yeah.
And that people don't have to go through this alone.
Absolutely.
This case has been fascinating.
It has.
It's been disturbing.
Yeah.
But it's also been really eye-opening.
It has.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I'm just struck by how complex relationships can be.
Yeah.
How important evidence is.
Absolutely.
And how we're always trying to find justice.
It's true.
It's a reminder that even though a trial might end, the effects of what happened, they stay with people. Yeah, they do.
The Hargan family killings. It's like a warning.
It is.
It makes us think about our own values.
Yeah, our relationships and how the choices we make can affect us and the people around us in really big ways.
Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Into the Hargan family killings. It's a case that's caught everyone's attention.
It has.
And it's made us all think about families' justice and what people are capable of.
Well, absolutely.
We'll be back soon.
Okay.
With another deep dive.
Yeah.
Into something new and interesting.
Looking forward to it.
Until then, stay curious, stay informed.
Stay informed.
And keep asking questions.